Hey friends, and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. I know it's been a while since we sat down to catch up, but I always love just spending time chatting with you, answering your questions, and there are some big life updates that I want to share with you and some things that are going on. So I figured it would be nice today just to spend some time together, friend to friend, over a good cup of tea and to talk. So I asked you all what questions you had for me, and boy did you all deliver. I figured we could just chat through them over a cup of tea. The tea that I'm drinking today is the Herbal Grey Rooibos blend from David's Tea, and it's a really beautiful combination of two of my favorite types of tea. I'm a big Rooibos and a big Earl Grey fan, and I really like the combination of them together. Whether you're more of a tea person, a coffee person, or something else entirely, why not grab yourself a cozy beverage and let's catch up. All right, let's get started with probably the most imminent life update. I'm about to become an American citizen, which feels so crazy for me to say, and the journey to me for citizenship has been such a long process. We're finally near the finish line, which feels really surreal for me to say. I think we're finalizing the date still, but I should become a citizen either Wednesday or next Tuesday, so there's a chance that by the time this video goes live, I'll already be a citizen. That's something that I haven't talked a ton about on this channel because honestly it has been, like I said, a really long process and a really confusing one too. There have been so many twists and turns in my path to citizenship, but it's really exciting that this kind of process is coming to a close and that hopefully in the next week or so I'll be an American citizen. So it's kind of the big update, but I did get a few specific questions about that. I wanted to answer those. So first, one of the questions that I got is, where are you from originally and why did you move to the US? I think this is something that I shared on my channel before, but I was born and grew up in Ontario, Canada. My family moved to Boston, Massachusetts originally for my dad's job, later to Raleigh, North Carolina, and then when I was in North Carolina, I met and fell in love with my husband, Christopher. Together, we moved to Charlotte a few years ago. So that's kind of the journey that I've been on. I've honestly been in the United States for quite a long time, but I am originally from Canada, and literally like all of my extended family still lives there. It's just my parents who live in North Carolina. That really leads into this next question, which is, why did you decide to become an American citizen? And the easy answer to this is just the United States has really become my home in the past several years. I've been living here for a long time. It's where I got married. It's where I live now. I think especially to kind of seeing my future with Christopher, we've been married for 6 years. It just feels like the right next step. You know, we're talking about starting a family together in the next several years, and it just feels right that I become a citizen of the country that I've called home for so long. Which isn't to say that Canada isn't home for me either, but I really am at a place in my life where I genuinely feel like both countries are home to me. That really kind of plays into this other question, which is, will you be keeping your Canadian citizenship when you become an American citizen? This is probably one of the most frequently asked questions that I've gotten, and honestly, when I went into this, I wasn't entirely sure what the answer was. I didn't even know if you could be a dual citizen, kind of what that meant, what the process was for that. And the more that I've learned about it, and I'm not a lawyer, so this is just my best understanding of the way it works, is you don't actually become a dual citizen. So each country isn't going to recognize like, oh yeah, you're a dual citizen with this other country. The way that it works is each country recognizes your unique citizenship. So Canada will look at me and say, oh yeah, you're a Canadian citizen. The United States will look at me and say, oh yeah, you're an American citizen. But they don't really have like a way of saying like, oh, but you're also a citizen of this other country. It's just each country recognizes your citizenship. So yes, I am going to be a dual citizen, but it's more so just that I'll be a citizen of Canada and a citizen of the United States. I know that's a bit confusing. Honestly, it's taken me a long time to really understand how all of that works, but my current plan is not to give up my Canadian citizenship, but to acquire American citizenship, so I will be holding both. But again, that is just my best understanding of the way that it works. It really is quite confusing. And then let's just do one more question about citizenship and nationality. Someone asks, what do you miss about Canada? And there are a lot of little things. I always loved the monarch butterflies that would be around during the summer where I grew up, and sometimes I really just wish I could, go back, just plan a trip up to Canada during the summer. I might need to do this just to enjoy the monarch butterflies, little things like paintbrush flowers, sumac bushes. Those are things that, you know, we just don't have in North Carolina. And then also to just kind of broader scale, something that I've always really appreciated about the country is, you know, it's the second largest country in the world landmass size. There are only 30 to 40 million people living in it. And so because of that, so much of Canada just has this feeling of untouched beauty. I love the landscapes there, and some of the national parks are, you know, my favorite places in the world. Christopher and I literally honeymooned at Banff National Park, and to this day, you know, that place has such a special place in my heart. And yeah, I do miss kind of being near that feeling of vibrant nature. You know, North Carolina has its nature, but it's not quite the same. It's not quite the scale of the Rocky Mountains or the Great Lakes or something like that. So yeah, that's, I'd say, one of the bigger things that I miss for sure. Okay, but then let's chat about another topic that I got a lot of questions about, and that's kids. I thought that this was a really good question. Have you ever felt the pressure of being a mom from people around you? I love your wifey life, but I wonder. So not really, and I think part of the reason for that is because Christopher and I got married so young. I was literally 19 when I got married. I think a lot of people almost wanted us to wait for a while to have kids, and that's what we wanted for ourselves too. You know, we wanted to build a life and a marriage for each other kind of apart from kids before bringing kids into the picture. So I would say, honestly, for a long time, no, not at all. Now, as we've been married for more and more years, I definitely get the sense that both my in-laws and my parents are ready for us to have kids. They're like, well, you've been married for 6 years. I'm ready to be a grandparent. But honestly, even that has been just like mere hints here and there, occasionally a joke or two, but like it's all been very respectful on the whole, and they really have been very willing to just kind of, you know, wait, knowing that we'll probably have kids one day, but it's going to be on our timeline. And so I would say I haven't felt a ton of pressure, but definitely more recently, I think that I get the sense that other people are kind of waiting for us to have kids. And I think that makes sense. You know, we're getting older. We've been married for several years. I think it's only natural, and I get that desire for, you know, my parents, my in-laws, they want to be grandparents. And so, you know, I don't hold that against them, but I definitely haven't felt pressure. It's just been more like I can sense other people wanting that for us. I guess I kind of already hinted at this answer with the last one, but a lot of you asked, do you want kids? And the answer to this is yes, definitely. I don't know exactly when, although we're definitely getting closer to that, but yeah. We do want kids. Which kind of leads into this next question, which is, would you be open to sharing your experience with oral birth control, and have you felt side effects from stopping? So I went off of oral birth control a few months ago, and I always kind of knew that I wanted to give myself 6 months to a year of going off of birth control before actively trying for children. And my thought with that was just, you know, I've been putting a hormone into my body for so long that I wanted to give it just time to reset, to rebalance all of my hormones, all of that. And I really had a pretty decent relationship with the pill for many years. Was kind of a bit rocky when I first started. I had to try a few to find one that really worked for me. But for a long time, I didn't really have a ton of symptoms on the pill, but I eventually got to a place where it just felt like the right time for me to go off of it. And so I did a few months ago. Side effects of stopping using it, I really haven't had that many. I was expecting a lot more, honestly. That was one of the main reasons why I wanted to get off so early before wanting to start trying for kids, was because I figured I would have more serious side effects. But honestly, it's been pretty good. I've had friends who've had some pretty rough stuff happen, but I think for me, the only like real symptom that I've had, and you may have noticed in several of my past few videos, but I've had some really rough chin acne, which is very unusual. I've never had that throughout my life. I'm wondering if that's a side effect of going off the pill, because recently it's been like every single, I don't know, week or so, I just have a new pimple showing up on my chin, which feels a bit weird, but it's like always there. I don't really know. So maybe that's a side effect, maybe not entirely sure. That's the only real symptom that I've noticed. but I've really felt pretty good going off the pill. And then one more kind of kids related question was just, will you continue to travel if and when you have kids? And yes, absolutely. I traveled a lot growing up. My parents kind of took me wherever they were going as I was growing up, and that is something that I would love to do for my children as well. I went to 48 of the 50 American states before I turned 16, and I don't know if I'll be able to do that for my children, but in as much as possible, I would love to take my kids along on any adventures that Christopher and I go on, and I definitely don't plan to stop traveling when I have kids. If anything, I'm really hoping that I'll just be inspired to show my kids the world, expose them to different cultures and places, and just to show them the beauty of the world. I think that that's such a special thing and such a cool gift that I can give to my children, and I know that it really was a gift for me, so it's something I would love to be able to pass on to my kids. I also got a bunch of questions about our home or future plans. One that I loved was, after living in your home for a while, is there anything that you regret about the home? The layout, the location, getting a new build, anything like that? So this is honestly kind of a tough question. I would say the two regrets, but they aren't really fully regrets, are number one, the location of our house. We are pretty far outside of the city of Charlotte at this point. It's about a 20 to 30 minute drive to uptown Charlotte, and we do a lot there still. So I do often wish that we lived closer to the city, but at the same time, I realize that we bought the house that we're in right now because it's what we could afford, and it can be really expensive to live close to the city center of Charlotte. And so do I regret it? No, because I'm really glad that we bought a house that was within our means, something that we could really afford. But at the same time, I do wish that we were closer to the city of Charlotte. So there is kind of a bit of tension there. I wouldn't call it a regret because we made the best decision possible with the resources and information that we had, but I would love to eventually move closer to the city. Not too close. I do really enjoy the peace and quiet of the area that we're in, but it would be nice not to have to drive 30 minutes to get places. Then in terms of the layout of our home, getting a new build, all of that, don't really have any regrets there. I'm really happy with the decisions that we've made, and honestly, we've had a lot of fun just adding and infusing character and personality into our home. Speaking of which, someone asks, what is your next big house project? I'm really hoping that in the next couple of weeks here, we'll be able to redo our back patio. Right now, that is not really a space that I'm excited about hanging out or spending time in, and I really want to transform it into kind of an outdoor oasis that we can enjoy the warm nights of summer and all of that. So yeah, that's the next project, and I'm hoping it's gonna be pretty soon here. And just a fun one, I got a question, do you have a vegetable garden or would you ever want to start one? And I don't have one now, but I am definitely interested in starting one. I've been following Garden Answer on YouTube for a bit now, and I'm pretty inspired to get into outdoor gardening. I thought that this one was good too. Someone asked, when you start a family, will you upgrade to a larger house? I think the answer to this one is maybe. I think the house that we're in right now will work just fine if we have 1 or 2 kids. I already kind of have plans to turn my current office into a future nursery, but once we reach 2, if we have 3 kids, I definitely think that we'll probably be wanting more space, especially since Christopher and I both work from home. So I don't think immediately once we start a family that we'll be upgrading the size of our house, but I could definitely see it in the future if we have 2 or more kids. Which, no idea how many kids that we'll have, but I'm definitely open to the possibility of upgrading the size of our house if need be. I got a few questions about my husband and I's personality. Someone wanted to know if I'd consider myself more of an introvert or an extrovert. So I felt pretty much exactly in the middle with this one. I love my time with people, I love my time alone, and I really do need both in order to thrive. And I've taken tests in the past. Pretty much every time I do, I'm pretty much 50-50. So I would say I'm a bit of an ambivert. I don't know. I think I used to say I would fall a little bit more extrovert. Lately, maybe a bit more introvert, but I really think that I'm about as close to the middle with this one as it's possible to be. I really do. I go back and forth and stay pretty close to 50-50. I thought that this one was a bit funny. Someone asked, what is your husband's personality? He seems so serious in your videos. And honestly, guys, Christopher is not that serious of a person. He's very fun, very affectionate, very like goofy and silly of a person. I think the reason he comes across as really serious is he's actually quite camera shy. So he doesn't love cameras, he doesn't love being filmed, any of that. He does some of that for me, but I think his personality really changes when he senses that there's a camera on him. And it's really funny. I'll go back and watch, videos that he's in, and I'll be like, this doesn't feel like I'm watching footage of my husband. But that really is just one of those things that I think he just comes across a bit differently on the camera. It's really funny though, because he's very just sweet, very affectionate, very loving, just fun in real life. But it is interesting to hear that he comes across a bit that way in videos. I definitely have sensed that too. But yeah, I think it comes down to him being camera shy. And speaking about Christopher, I got some questions about relationships. I love this one. Someone asked, what is your secret to a good marriage? I think for me, the answer to this really is just choosing each other and putting the other person first every single day. I love this quote. I think it sums it up so perfectly. I'm just going to read it for you. It says, the secret to an amazing relationship isn't finding someone that you're perfectly compatible with. It's waking up every single day and saying, I'm going to love you with everything that I have, and they do the same. It's saying, I'm sorry, over and over and over again for 50 years until you both die. It's saying, I screwed that up. How can I do better next time? It's a million small decisions to serve and to love the person that you've committed to. I really think that that's just so big, continuing to choose each other in good times and bad, through thick and thin. 7 years in, it's not like I've been married forever, but I feel like that's something that I've definitely seen to be true in our relationship. I think that if both of you are really seeking to serve and love the other person first, that really is a recipe for a healthy and happy marriage. I thought that this was a really sweet question too. Someone asked, how do you and your husband encourage each other when it comes to achieving goals? And I think that the biggest thing is just you want to be each other's biggest cheerleader. We want to hope, believe, and encourage the other person to pursue their goals, their dreams, their desires. Christopher was so incredibly supportive when I was, thinking about quitting my job and going full-time with YouTube. And I don't know that I would have done that if I didn't have his encouragement, his support, all of that. And he really has been my biggest cheerleader throughout this entire journey. And I hope that I've been the same too as he's pursued the different dreams and goals and all of that he's had too. All right, then let's do some fun, just more life questions. Someone asked, what YouTubers do you like watching? There are a number of channels that I love watching. For lifestyle stuff, Michelle Reed and Allison Bickerstaff are some of my favorites. For travel, I love Kara and Nate. And I mentioned I've been really getting into gardening recently, so I've been watching a lot of the Garden Answer YouTube channel. I think she was actually recommended to me by a couple of you, so thank you so much for the recommendation. And then also too, I love for minimalism, Simple Happy Zen. She has an amazing channel too. And this is a question that I haven't gotten a lot of, but I think is really interesting. Someone said, not that I want you to, but do you ever see yourself quitting YouTube? And I would say I can definitely envision a future where I would stop posting to my YouTube channel. I love it, and in this season of my life, I don't have any plans to stop posting content right now. But at the same time, YouTube takes a lot of work, and I'd be lying if I said that there weren't periods that I've really thought about stopping posting and just getting a more traditional job. There are so many beautiful things about the flexibility, the freedom that comes with having a YouTube channel, but there are some really challenging things too. So it's definitely something that I've thought about, and I could see that happening in the future, but at least right now, I don't have any immediate plans to quit posting to YouTube, all of that. That does kind of tie into this next question, which is, what would you do for a job if you didn't have a YouTube channel? Something that I have thought about doing is whenever I retire from YouTube, or if I ever retire from YouTube, doing something like photography or videography. Those are kind of some of my favorite elements of the job, and I love being able to take creative pictures, especially pictures of other people. It's not something that I get to do all the time, but it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I've gotten to do some engagements for friends, weddings, things like that. So I could definitely see that being kind of like a post-YouTube career for me. Not entirely sure if it will ever happen, but I think it would be a lot of fun. Then on a bit more of a serious note, I got a question about what I do to take care of my mental health. There are really a number of things that I try to do. One of the biggest ones is just to find a balance of work and rest. Something that I've been trying to do in the past few months especially is to properly Sabbath, which if you're unfamiliar with the term Sabbath, the Sabbath is the day of rest that's instituted in the Old Testament after God creates the world in the creation story. He kind of institutes the seventh day as dedicated for rest. And that's kind of like a prescriptive pattern that's carried throughout the Old Testament and even in the New Testament of the early church. And that's something that I've been trying to do, is just once a week dedicate a day specifically towards rest, where I'm only engaging in the activities, the practices that are really going to nourish me mentally, physically, and spiritually. And since I've started doing that, I've really found it to be just such a powerful time. It's something that I look forward to every week. And those days really are, such a highlight of the week for me, and it is incredible kind of the difference that it's made. I've always kind of like half tried to like not work on, Sundays or whatever day that I tried to take a day off, but I feel like work inevitably would start creeping into those. And so really just trying to properly rest one day a week has really been big for me. Other things that I try to do are I share a lot of the healthy habits that I try to incorporate into my life on my channel. I think a lot of those help with my mental health. And then also too, taking like self-care and mental health days just every so often, especially when I might be having a bit of a harder time, I find that those can be really helpful too. So it really is a combination of things, but I would say resting, focusing on healthy habits, and then just taking mental health and self-care days every so often. Those all really help a lot. Okay, but now let's end this off with just a couple of rapid fire questions. So I'm going to read the questions you all sent in and just give like a sentence or two answer to each of them. The first question, someone asked, what did I major in? For my undergrad, I majored in business administration. Then I also have a master's in communication. Do you have any siblings? Yes, I have 3. I'm the oldest. I have a younger sister who is 14 months younger than me. And then below her, I have twin siblings that are brother and sister. What countries are on your travel list in the near future? So I would love to go to England, France, Spain, Australia, really anywhere in the Caribbean. Peru's really high on my list. I have a lot, but I would say right now at least England and France are pretty close to the top of the list. How many languages can you speak? So I can speak 2, English and French, although to be fair, my French used to be a lot better. It's really kind of fallen off living in Charlotte all these years. I don't have a lot of opportunities to use it. What books are you currently reading? So I just finished Daisy Jones and the Six, which I thought was quite interesting. I'm just about to start All Good People Here, and then I recently reread The Six of Crows duology too, The King of Scars duology. I think the Six of Crows one is honestly one of my all-time favorites, but it's kind of what I've been reading lately. And last question, what inspires and motivates you? I mean, honestly, so many things, but I'll narrow it down to 2. I love just a beautiful landscape and a good story. I think those 2 things, there's just such a power in them, and they really do move me. All right, well, I think that's all the questions, the life updates that we're going to get to today. I really hope that you enjoyed just spending some time together. I know that I did, and I always love these chances to catch up. Now, I'd love to hear from you too. What are your answers to some of these questions? Specifically, what inspires and motivates you? I think that that's such a fun question. I'd love to hear your answers, so be sure to let me know what those are. And then also too, if you have any questions that I didn't get to today, go ahead and drop them below in the comments, and I'll try to get to as many as I can. I know I only have so much time when I'm filming one of these, but I love getting the chance to connect with you all. But that's really everything that I've got for you all today. So until next time, friends, give this video a like if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, though let's be real, I feel like most of us are friends already. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. I love you guys so much. Bye.